When the sheriff knocked, I already knew what was coming. Karen Winslow stood beside him, smug, arms folded like a cartoon villain. "You've been served," he said, handing me eviction papers. I smiled. Not fear, just calm. "I'd been planning for this," she whispered. "Time to leave, sweetheart," her voice sharp and cruel. I gestured to the sheriff. "Come inside. You'll want to see this." Before we continue, please drop a like and comment below with your country and what time it is right now where you're watching. Whether it's sunrise in Australia, midnight in New York, afternoon in Canada, or evening in France, I want to know. Don't just sit back, tell me where in the world you are. Now, let's dive into the story. Her smirk didn't fade, but she had no idea she wasn't evicting a tenant. She was confronting the landlord. I led them into my study. My hardwood floors gleamed beneath my boots. From a locked drawer, I pulled out a file, clean, crisp, notarized. "You might want to read this," I said, sliding the title deed across my desk. The sheriff's brow furrowed as he scanned the document. "Roderick Elam," he read aloud. Karen leaned over, expecting victory. Then flinched. "That's this address." I nodded. "I own this house, and 514 Sycamore." Her face turned ghost pale. "That was her house," I added, "both purchased through my company, Elam Holdings." Karen sputtered, "You tricked me." I raised an eyebrow. "I followed the law. You, on the other hand, just filed a fake eviction against a homeowner. Might want to call your lawyer." The sheriff nodded slowly, turning to Karen. "This notice isn't valid. He's the legal owner." Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. She stepped back, stumbling into my foyer rug. "This isn't over," she hissed. "I'll make sure you leave." When they left, I exhaled slowly. 3 months of harassment. Dozens of fines. Anonymous complaints. Fake rules. And now, a fraudulent eviction attempt. She thought she'd scare me into packing. Instead, she just triggered her own downfall. It was game time. I stepped onto my porch. Neighbors peeked through blinds. The HOA queen had just been checked by the new guy. But I wasn't new to strategy. Karen had made her first move. Now I'd return the favor, with precision she'd never expect. What Karen didn't know was that every fine, every note, every lie was saved. Labeled. Dated. Ready. She built a paper trail of power. I was going to burn her with it. Next step? Pull back the curtain and expose her kingdom. 3 months before eviction day, I moved into Cypress Ridge for peace. I just sold my clean energy company and wanted quiet. I purchased 2 homes under Elam Holdings LLC. One for me. One as an investment. My name stayed hidden. Karen Winslow introduced herself fast. Clipboard in hand, polyester suit, plastic pearls. "I'm HOA president," she said like royalty. "We run a tight ship." I smiled politely. "Good to know." She glanced at my skin, hesitated, then offered the rules, typed and laminated. The first fine came days later, $75 for leaving my trash bins out, beyond pickup window. I'd brought them in 30 minutes late. Then $100 for non-compliant mailbox. Mine matched everyone else's. It became obvious, this wasn't about rules. It was personal. I kept calm. Logged every fine, time-stamped photos, recorded every encounter. Karen thought she'd wear me down with bureaucracy. But I wasn't some passive resident. I'd battled corporate lawyers. This was HOA drama. I was already 10 steps ahead. My neighbor, Ms. Letha Rowe, waved one evening. "You're handling her better than most," she said. She made the Ramirez family move out. Said their garden was too ethnic. I nodded, understanding fully. Karen wasn't enforcing rules. She was enforcing control. I visited the HOA website. Every bylaw she quoted, suddenly updated. Dates changed. Rules redrafted. No votes recorded. Karen had her hand on the system. I printed every revision. Labeled them. Cross-referenced timestamps. Every fraudulent tweak, captured. The paper trail grew like wildfire. When I questioned the board, they acted nervous. "Karen runs the day-to-day," one mumbled. Another whispered, Don't poke the bear. But I wasn't afraid of her claws. In fact, I was baiting them. She thought she ruled Cypress Ridge. She didn't. My lawyer, Yvette Faulkner, reviewed my collection. She's on dangerous ground, she said. Fines without cause. Altered bylaws. Harassment. I smiled. Let her keep digging. We planned slowly. Karen wasn't just going to be removed. She was going to be replaced, publicly. I bought her house at auction. She'd missed 3 payments. Didn't even know it was sold. My property manager handled everything. She still thought she was an owner. She didn't realize she now lived under my roof. I waited silently. I was patient. I was calculating. And I was black. That's what she couldn't handle. Power in a form she'd been taught to suppress. She wanted me gone. Instead, I became the landlord of her legacy. And I hadn't even started. Karen's next move was bold, another violation. Unauthorized vehicle, it read. My black pickup, legally registered and parked in my own driveway. She cited a non-existent bylaw. I smiled, added it to the folder, and took photos. Another thread in her unraveling rope. 2 days later, a $200 fine for visible hose. I hadn't used it in weeks. Karen snapped a photo of my neighbor's and labeled it mine. The timestamp proved it wasn't my lawn. I printed it. My evidence wall grew stronger. I began receiving odd stares from other board members. One approached quietly, Darren Cliff, HOA treasurer. She's falsifying reports, he whispered. Meeting minutes don't match votes. I invited him over. He saw the files. His eyes widened. You've been building this whole time? Like a fortress, I replied. You in? He nodded slowly. I'm tired of her games. Darren agreed to help. I sent Yvette the evidence. This is enough for a civil suit, she said. And possibly criminal charges. We kept stacking documentation. Karen escalated, delivering printed notices herself. She'd walk right up, tape them to my door and smirk. I never reacted. That annoyed her more than any protest. She thrived on drama. I gave her silence, letting her scream into a void. I set up cameras. High def, motion triggered. Every one of her visits recorded. Every eye roll, every insult under her breath. One video caught her saying, I'll run him out if it's the last thing I do. I emailed it to Yvette. Subject, confession. Neighbors began talking. Ms. Letha saw her rifling through my recycling bin. She's getting sloppy, she whispered. I replied, she's getting desperate. The more she spiraled, the calmer I became. Karen was speeding toward self-destruction. All I had to do was steer. Then came the forged lease. An eviction notice with my LLC's name, falsified signature, and fake late payment logs. She really thought I was renting from myself. That was the final piece. I smiled, scanned it, and whispered, gotcha. I filed the fraud report the next morning. Karen had officially crossed from petty to criminal. Her paper empire was crumbling. I just needed one more public mistake to expose her completely. I didn't have to wait long. It came fast. The envelope came on a Thursday, taped sloppily to my front door. Final eviction notice. It read. Elam Residential was listed as the landlord, my own company. The lease was forged, signature laughably fake. Karen had just committed mail fraud without blinking. Inside, I reviewed every line. The lease included incorrect payment dates and even a clause about excessive cooking odors. It was a joke, except now it was evidence. I took photos, printed copies, and called Yvette. She finally gave us the sword. We filed with County Housing Enforcement. Fraudulent eviction. Forged documents. Harassment. Karen had stepped past HOA complaints and into real legal consequences. Yvette smiled. Now she's facing charges that stick. I nodded. Time to pull the curtain all the way back. That weekend, Cypress Ridge held its quarterly HOA meeting. Karen opened with venom. Some residents think they're above the rules. She scanned the room, locking eyes with me. I stood slowly, held up the fake lease, and asked, care to explain this? Gasps echoed. Brenda, a board member, reached for it. Is this real? She asked. I nodded. Signed with my name. Filed under my company. Completely forged. Karen shouted, "Lies? He's manipulating everyone." I turned to the crowd. "Let's read the fine print." The projector lit up. Paragraph after paragraph appeared. My name spelled wrong. Karen's email metadata still embedded. She hadn't even cleared the file history. Darren whispered, "She's done." Maisie, the secretary, looked disgusted. Karen's authority cracked like a dropped wineglass. Karen stormed out mid-meeting, slamming her binder shut. "This board is corrupt," she screamed. "I built this community." But no one followed her. Brenda called for a vote. Motion to suspend Karen Winslow pending investigation. Unanimous. Her crown fell in silence. The next morning, I hand-delivered her real eviction notice. She opened the door in a robe, eyes puffy. "What's this?" she asked. 30 days, I replied. Lease violations. Late payments. Harassment. Your time's up. She crumbled the paper, then slammed the door. I stepped back and smiled. For months she tried to force me out of a home I owned. Now she had 30 days to vacate hers, because I owned that too. Karma doesn't knock gently. Sometimes it delivers paperwork by hand. Karen's moving deadline was now public. A notice taped to her door, official, court-approved. Neighbors paused while walking dogs, pretending not to read it. But they did. I stood across the street, coffee in hand, watching the Queen of Fines lose ground. She still tried. 2 days after being suspended, she emailed the HOA board, claiming harassment. "He forged those documents," she typed. Brenda replied bluntly, "You attached a version with your name in the file metadata." Karen stopped replying after that message. Maisie discovered more. She's been fining people and pocketing the money. Dozens of false violation charges over 2 years. I compiled them into a folder. We shared it with the county inspector. "This isn't just misconduct," he said. "It's theft." Her allies vanished. Brenda, Darren, Maisie, they all publicly renounced her. "We were afraid," Maisie admitted. "She intimidated everyone." I replied, "She ruled by fear. I'll lead by law." The contrast grew louder. The community had been afraid too long. No more. Karen began retaliating like a child. Spray painting her fence, corrupt leaving dead plants in neighbor yards. Slashing her own tires and blaming me. Security cameras caught everything. Yvette smiled as she filed charges. She's digging her grave in real time. I got a knock one night, Deputy Ferris. "She filed a restraining order," he said awkwardly. "Claims you stalked her." I laughed. "You want my security footage from that day?" He shrugged. "Already saw it. Your cameras clear you completely." By now, my neighbors were bringing me pies. "Thank you," they said. "You stood up to her." I replied humbly. "We all deserve better." I wasn't running for power. I was restoring peace. And proving that silence isn't weakness. It's preparation. Karen's son showed up. Early 20s, confused. "You're evicting my mom?" I nodded gently. "She tried to evict me illegally. Now the law is simply correcting her mistake." He looked ashamed. "She told me you were violent." I handed him court papers. He skimmed through pages, dates, fines, videos. "She lied to all of us," he whispered. "We believed her." I placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's never too late to face truth. She'll have to. We all do eventually. Even HOA presidents." The days ticked down. Karen packed angrily. Slammed boxes. Broke dishes. Her pride weighed more than her furniture. But when she drove off finally, one thing was clear. Cypress Ridge breathed easier. And I wasn't finished. I was just getting started. The neighborhood felt different. Lighter. As if the air had shed weight. Karen was gone. Her porch empty. Her silence louder than her clipboard ever was. I watched from my window as squirrels returned to the tree she once threatened to remove. 2 days after she left, I entered her old home. Legally mine. Her damage was cosmetic, scuffed floors, chipped counters, gouged pride. I walked room to room, imagining the stories she told herself while ruling others. Control had been her oxygen. In her office, I found HOA documents, some forged, some altered. A hidden drawer held blank fine slips already signed. A rubber stamp with fake initials. I photographed everything. Evidence for the board. Truth for the community. This was more than pettiness. Yvette helped me submit the evidence packet to the state's Homeowners Association Commission. Brenda organized a neighborhood meeting. Let's vote in a new board, she said. With rules. Transparency. Term limits. The crowd clapped. I hadn't even spoken yet, but all eyes turned to me. I stepped forward. If nominated, I'll accept. Cheers erupted. Mr. Langston, 84 and cane wielding, rose and saluted. We need real leadership, son. I smiled. Let's rebuild this place into what it should have always been, home. That night, I was unanimously voted HOA president. My first rule? No anonymous violations. Second rule? Board members must disclose all properties. The mandatory public financial audits every 6 months. Brenda wept. It's finally happening. Even Karen's former allies voted in favor. Her legacy was being erased, one fair motion at a time. I renamed her old home, Cypress Community Welcome House. A resource center. Free gardening classes. Mediation workshops. Ms. Letha taught cooking. Darren helped seniors with tax forms. Her former fortress of power was now a foundation for healing. The irony tasted sweet. Reporters called. You turned revenge into reform, one said. How? I replied, I didn't destroy Karen. I revealed her. There's a difference. National outlets picked it up. Toy horror stories were common, but rarely ended with power shifting so completely, so publicly. Karen watched from afar. I knew she saw the news. She tried calling Brenda once. No one answered. She mailed an anonymous letter. No apology, just blame. We pinned it on the Welcome House wall. Framed in glass. Labeled, The Last Echo. Her throne was empty now, not because it was taken, but because it was replaced with a table. And everyone, every color, every age, every background, had a seat. That's what terrified her most. Not eviction. Inclusion. With the board fully rebuilt, we commissioned a full audit. Brenda and Maisie gathered every receipt, transaction, and statement from Karen's 5-year reign. What we found was staggering: ghost vendors, doubled invoices, emergency fees never authorized. Nearly $29,000 unaccounted for. Darren's hands shook flipping through it. She paid herself to inspect lawns? Brenda pointed to check copies, same handwriting, multiple names. She used aliases, Maisie whispered. We turned it over to the county investigator. Fraud, embezzlement, misuse of HOA funds. The news spread fast. Former residents reached out, families Karen had forced out with fake rules. One mother cried on speakerphone. She said our son's wheelchair ramp ruined property value. I promised her restitution. Your story won't be ignored. Not anymore. We held a public forum. I presented the audit findings under a giant projector. The crowd gasped. I watched faces change, shock, anger, sadness. Ms. Letha clutched her husband's hand. All those years, she whispered. All those lies. Karen's rule became history. The board voted to refund every illegal fine. I added personal restitution from the profits I'd earned as Karen's unknowing landlord. This isn't charity, I said. It's justice. Dozens of homeowners smiled through tears. For the first time, Cypress Ridge felt free. Karen was officially charged with fraud and banned from any future HOA involvement statewide. She pleaded not guilty. But the evidence was overwhelming. I testified. So did Brenda, Darren, and 3 former tenants she harassed. She avoided jail, but lost everything. Outside the courthouse, a reporter asked if I had regrets. Only that I didn't act sooner, I said. But every step brought us here. And here is good. I returned home to a porch full of sunflowers and handwritten thank you cards. We held a New Beginnings block party. Kids chalked the sidewalks. Seniors danced on lawns. I stood beside the welcome house sign and toasted with cider. To community over control, I said. Applause echoed. Cypress Ridge wasn't perfect, but now, it was ours. As the sun set, I opened Karen's old mailbox. Inside was one envelope, addressed to me. No return label. Inside, a single sheet. You'll never really belong. I laughed quietly. You were wrong then. You're still wrong now. And I tore it up. Cypress Ridge was thriving. The Welcome House held its third community night, this time themed stories we weren't allowed to tell. Families shared how Karen's rules silenced their culture, banned music, forced garden removals. Every voice was heard. No one was interrupted. I watched from the back, humbled. I hadn't just won a war, I'd rewritten a system. One man stood up, tears in his eyes. My daughter stopped drawing outside because Karen called it graffiti. Tonight, she painted the sidewalk. The crowd clapped. That moment stayed with me. It wasn't about defeating Karen anymore. It was about what we built after her. The Welcome House added Saturday tutoring. Darren launched free tax prep. Brenda started a garden swap. People smiled in ways they hadn't before. Then came a letter from the state. Cypress Ridge HOA was nominated for Neighborhood Renewal Excellence. We were finalists. Me, the man Karen tried to evict, now recognized for creating one of the most inclusive HOAs in the region. Irony, sweet and sharp. I gave an interview for the local paper. What changed this neighborhood? They asked. I answered simply, truth, transparency, and knowing when to shut up and listen. The headline read, Landlord turned president rebuilt what a tyrant tried to own. Karen surely read it. Karen had moved 2 counties over, living in a rundown rental. She applied for management positions in 3 HOAs, all rejected. One board chair called me. She's on a do not hire list. Your audit sealed that. I thanked him. Closure wasn't revenge. It was protection. We renamed our bylaws the Cypress Covenant. Every change signed, time-stamped, witnessed. No secrecy. No solo edits. I framed the old ones Karen manipulated and hung them in the Welcome House under glass. Never again. A reminder of what silence cost. At a school fundraiser, a young black boy told me, my mom says you made it safe for us here. I knelt. No, we made it safe together. And now it's yours too. His smile lit up the night more than any headline. I bought a bench in the park and had it engraved, for those who came before, who never got to sit in peace. Ms. Letha cried reading it. They'd be proud, Roderick, she whispered. I nodded. They're why I stayed. Karen wanted to erase me. Instead, she amplified me. Her noise gave me a voice. Her fines funded my cause. Her eviction made me a leader. She tried to push me out, unaware I already owned the foundation beneath her. 2 weeks after the state award ceremony, I received a call from a property manager in Larchmont County. Mr. Elam, there's a foreclosure you may want to see. Karen Winslow's secondary residence. Yours if you want it, first refusal. My heart stilled. I drove there quietly. A cottage-style home with peeling white shutters, sunken porch, and worn wind chimes. Her name was still on the mailbox. I remembered her bragging once, my father built that house. It's untouchable. And now it was mine, untouched. I walked through it slowly. Each room whispering failed authority. Walls lined with dusty certificates. Her HOA badges framed like medals. Her voice echoed in my memory, lecturing, threatening, judging. I didn't feel triumph. I felt pity. Control had been her identity. I bought the house for less than she fined me. I didn't gloat. I renovated it, cleaned it. Then I donated it to a nonprofit for displaced veterans. Named it the Restoration House. The irony? Her name was still etched on the deed. Reporters called again. You keep buying her past, one said. Why? I answered, because healing happens faster when justice holds the keys. The quote went viral. Karen became a warning. How cruelty disguised as order will always fold under transparency and truth. I received an anonymous card. No signature. Just handwriting I recognized. Enjoy your kingdom, King. No apology. Only bitterness. I placed the card in the Welcome House's time capsule. Future generations would read it and know exactly how not to lead. Back at Cypress Ridge, Brenda nominated Ms. Letha to the board. A leader by heart, she said. Unanimous vote. Her first motion? Build a community garden on the old HOA storage lot. Where Karen once hoarded power, we now planted tomatoes. That night, I sat at my kitchen table holding the original eviction notice Karen served me. I kept it, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. Power isn't given. It's revealed when you withstand pressure and choose integrity every single time. I poured a glass of wine and whispered to the air, almost done. One final move left. One last meeting. A chapter not for courts or cameras, but for closure. Tomorrow I would visit her, not as her tenant, not as her enemy, but as the man she tried to erase, who rewrote everything instead. I drove to her apartment complex quietly. A gray brick building on the edge of downtown, surrounded by silence. I wore no suit. No badge of victory. Just a simple coat and purpose. This wasn't revenge. This was resolution. For me, not for her. She answered the door slowly, startled. She looked older. Deflated. Her hair unbrushed, her eyes guarded. "What do you want?" she asked. Her voice had no bite. I held up a small envelope. "Final notice," I said. She backed up instinctively. Trauma speaks first. She snatched it. Opened it. Inside, a check, $1. "Final reimbursement for your forfeited deposit," I said calmly. "Per clause 3C, property damage and fraudulent activity." She stared at it. "Is this a joke?" I shook my head. "It's a boundary. Legal and final." "I hate you," she whispered. "You humiliated me." I met her eyes. "You humiliated yourself." I just turned the lights on. She blinked hard. "You think you're a hero?" I exhaled. "I think I'm free. And that's worth more than revenge." She laughed bitterly. "They'll turn on you too." I nodded. "Maybe. But I'll never become what you were." I stepped back. "We're done, Karen. No more fines. No more notes. No more games. Your legacy ends here, with this door, this moment." Back in Cypress Ridge, I placed the original lease Karen forged into a shadowbox frame. Below it, engraved, "She tried to evict me. Instead, she crowned me." It hung beside the HOA bylaws, rewritten, signed by every resident. The contrast spoke louder than speeches. The Welcome House expanded, now offering first-time homebuyer workshops. We partnered with city planners to fight discriminatory zoning. What started as defense became an engine of equity. Karen tried to contain power. I passed it out like water on a summer day. During a community storytelling night, Ms. Letha read aloud. They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds. Applause roared. Cypress Ridge wasn't just a neighborhood now. It was a mirror showing what leadership looks like, steady, fair, and unshakable. I sat on my porch as kids rode by and families waved. Karen was gone. Her echo? Faded. Her clipboard? Rusted. I hadn't just survived her. I'd overwritten her. Peace lived here now, filed under my name, signed by the community itself. And every time I opened my mailbox, I smiled. Not because it was compliant, but because it belonged to me. Fully. Quietly. Eternally. Just like the story that tried to evict me, but only moved me closer to home.